Welcome. My name is Idris Kamoga, and I am so excited to have you again. Um, these are tourism business sessions that we always engage um, various people in assisting them on how to join the tourism business, especially on how to start, run, manage, and grow the their tourism businesses. As you all are aware, we are in the month of May. Um, Today is the 21st, so about a few days to June. Um, we are preparing for the busy season, but as you all are aware, tough times probably ahead of us, right? Around this time, we had shocking or terrible news about the outbreak or the announcement of Ebola. Indeed, it is sad news. The tourism business and in the industry. I've always told you tourism is such a very fragile industry whereby anything that impacts on it negatively harms, probably brings negative uh, impact, and the magnitude is usually high. So the last 1 week, um, 7 days or 1 week back, we've had World Health Organization announcing the outbreak of the Ebola in the DRC Congo and probably in Uganda. However, we've not had uh, local cases in Uganda. That is according to the Ministry of Health. We've seen a lot of press release from the Uganda Tourism Board, from the media center, and there is that misconception of the international media, Congo and Uganda. Probably they are two different countries, and you know the two cases as highlighted from Congo or within Congo. In any way, Uganda remains a safe destination to visit, but a lot of travel restrictions have been imposed, to destination Uganda. And as you all are aware that the East African bloc, it's all together. One or two countries that probably sneezes, the rest will definitely catch the cold. So, as I've already told you that as we are all preparing or already prepared for the high season, the months of June, July, August onwards, but to shock, we have the Ebola coming in, and this is really crisis. So unless we have good communication to our partners, to our agents, to our customers, where we have to tell facts from various sources. But on the other hand, I think we must be fighting a battle that is very hard. And indeed, of course, the generating regions, countries like the United States of America, where they are probably informing their citizens not to travel. I think that is something that we cannot win. Travel insurances are no longer issuing insurance to travelers to DRC, to Uganda, right? And as you're all aware that no tourist would probably get on board without a travel insurance, you know. Um, the recent development that we have is any travelers, any traveler from such countries will be, subjected to quarantine of about 21 days to 30 days. And that is also inconveniencing to majority travelers. In other words, we are anticipating to have more cancellations, right? And I have just told you that if a tourist was planning to visit Uganda, but in combination he has planned to visit Kenya, Tanzania same time, in other words, doing a circuit, right? The whole East African region, will be affected. See, but well, we are here to look at ways on how we can manage this crisis as tour operators, as tourism business players. And we've, so far, we are getting cancellations. And those watching, I'm sure you're also getting cancellations. And we are here to help you. How can we manage cancellations and flexibilities, throughout this crisis? And I must say, we might go like this for another 4 months. It's just a week ahead of June, July, but we are going to shift things. Majority of travelers are either seeking for refund of their deposits. Those that are brave enough are saying, okay, hold on to my deposit, but I'm giving you new debts. So it's very key. So I was giving you a preamble on the Ebola outbreak. Just 8 days or a week back, we had the news and saying, oh, but like I've said, the authorities are urging more vigilancy of the citizens. We've had a lot of press release that have, from Uganda Tourism Board, from the Media Center, Ministry of Health. In the meantime, Uganda remains, and most of these tourist places, they are not affected. So it means tourism remains open. But the pressure is mounting from the generating regions, alerting travelers not to, and that alone is going to give us a setback. You see, because however much we are claiming, and these are facts, Uganda remains safe, as we all know, but the generating regions are affected. Clients will receive notice, and there's a lot of news circulating online, of the rising cases and all that. So that is something that can be talked about later. But as of now, we are not going to breathe well, particularly Uganda as a destination, but like I said, the East African region as a whole, because look at an example of a client visiting Ethiopia, visiting Rwanda. They normally do, even it may go down into Southern Africa, because sometimes clients come from Southern Africa into Entebbe, into Nairobi, into Arusha, and all that. So as long as one is sparing 3 or 4 days within the destinations that are claimed, you see, because these regions are blessed in the sense that someone goes to Arusha to do the Serengeti, probably for the abundance of wildlife, and they fly into Uganda for the primates, probably doing chimpanzee, and you can see Uganda is already red marked. So all the other countries might be affected. So we want to give you the implications of the of this crisis. Of course, we are going to have setbacks, issues of cash flow, and all that stuff. But we want also to look at um, how to manage this situation. How do we manage this situation as tour operators? Because people will call in for, for cancellation of their trips. But it is now the time, to increase flexibilities. And we've always given you how do we increase flexibilities in tour operations, especially around this time where people are actually looking at minimizing financial loss. As you all know, clients have booked their permits, permits of which they are non-refundable, right? The gorillas, the chimpanzees. Of course, the authorities, being a force majeure, the inconvenience has been caused, due to factors that are beyond everyone's control. Of course, authorities will allow reschedule of these permits. I've seen a letter from Uganda Wildlife Authority allowing this due to the Ebola uncertainty. Of course, first thing forward is to get new dates if the situation is inevitable, right? Get new dates. When are you likely to travel? Or ask your guests, when are you likely to travel? Because June is here. Most of the trips are early June. It's busy season, So it is time now to replan, right? If you can minimize any financial loss, what we call free date change. So you push ahead your plans to travel probably in the few months to come when the situation is calm, at no additional cost. Try to see that you can fix this with all the rest of the suppliers in the supply chain. That's very key. So postponed. That is something that is, of course, when you postpone, there will be deferred payment. Someone was coming in June, and this client was supposed to pay his balance by now. Of course, someone says I'm moving this same time, 2027. Of course, you can defer payment, and all these are flexibilities. And clients, remember, they would rather have these at hand. They will feel, their deposits are much secure, all that stuff. Of course, for those that are booking, around this time, we can still get new bookings. You realize that people will have the fear to travel, but it doesn't stop them from asking about their gorilla trips to Rwanda, to Uganda, and across the East African region. So if you happen to get such bookings or such requests, among the key flexibility measures also to have is to ask for on reduced deposits. It's very key. You see, this will continue to work for you as a tour operator, as a tourism business entrepreneur. Make sure you reduce on the deposits. You may not go for 50%, right? Because everyone has fear of their money. But if you can get these bookings probably at about a commitment of $500, let me say 10% or 20%, this is an assurance to a client that after all, I'm making a small deposit to secure my booking for October, and probably in a couple of 3 or 4 months, the dust would have settled, and this is how you can. Then the other thing that I'm thinking about is we have to be in the keep constant update with our clients or our partners by giving them facts, right? This is very important, giving them an assurance from reliable sources. And here we can look at Uganda Tourism Board, we can look at the Ministry of Health, World Health Organization, links But of course, we can draw these facts, especially from our governments and relevant authorities, about the current situation of, of Ebola as a crisis. But it is something that is not easy, because on contrary, or on the other hand, we have foreign governments, that are stopping their people, citizens or travelers that are already booked their safaris to come on board. So I see something that we cannot champion at the moment, but that doesn't stop us from moving forward. So there are so many things that we must understand, and we must lay hands on and say, this must be done. But at the moment, it's to increase flexibilities, making sure that we can change anything at a given time at, free of charge uh, to our customers. Of course, there are inevitable situations whereby a client would say, I am no longer traveling. So case by case, certainly this is how we can handle such cases. If someone really says, I am no longer traveling because of this crisis, then of course there has to be some percentages. But make sure you have a refund desk, please. Don't hold on clients' funds. I'm sure you've got all your cancellation terms and policies very clear. So case by case, as they probably draw in, this is how you can be able to make refunds accordingly, you see, and then you can be able to anticipate future business from. But let's look at areas. Of course, there are some questions that clients will be asking us at the moment. I'm telling you. And you must be able to have answers to these questions. As a tour operator, as a tourism business entrepreneur, you must be able to give accurate information, and I want to say, give you, some of these questions. Of course, clients would come, is it safe to travel to Uganda now? And the answer is yes, because we've got all these tourism destinations. They are not affected, you know the primate parks, the wildlife parks are not affected. So it is safe to travel to. And Ebola it's not an airborne disease. These are some of the key things that we must present to our agent partners, our clients, because for you to get Ebola, it must be a bodily contact with the sick person. And your itineraries are not going through to the hospitals. You're not going to bush market meets and all that stuff. So you're not going to be in contact with wildlife, contact, like physical contact with, if it's a game drive, of course, tourists must be in their car and the sighting as usual. So Uganda is a very safe destination. And they will ask, right? And the other question would be probably precautions that you are taking as someone in business. You see, of course, we must advise them if there are measures. But at the moment, with most of the parts of, the tourist parts are free, But in case, if someone feels during the briefing, we must advise if clients are not feeling well, and this is when we take temperature checks. I think we must bring in the hand sanitizers again, the masks, being available to guests. Of course, we don't have to take clients to suspected areas, But of course, I think if you're doing Uganda only, there's no way how you're crossing to DRC Congo. So these are some of the key measures that must be drawn attention to. But of course, clients will ask you, What happens if I don't feel well? I think the first thing would be run to the nearest medical facility. But it doesn't mean that if someone doesn't feel well, he's, you know, he's prone to the Ebola thing. No, but checking the temperature and doing a health check would probably be very key thing. You know, um, first, to the client's health, right? Of course, others will ask you, can I cancel or change my booking? Of course, the first thing would be, because remember, we are looking at minimizing financial loss. So if we cancel, of course, there will be loss. We've talked about of permits, and some suppliers already taken deposits, the hotels, the lodges, and all that. So a hotel can be willing to postpone and probably give a credit note for future use, right? Until your guests get a new travel dates. So canceling, to me, I would say it's not advisable. But can we change? You see, of course, changing is very ideal. Then we can get new dates for the clients. Of course, there will be challenges of shifting all logistics, but it is much easier than losing revenue, as a tour operator. Of course, clients, they are looking at where they can get first-hand information, right? And this is where we talked about official updates from the Ministry of Health, official updates from Uganda Tourism Board, also from World Health Organization, regarding the crisis. And we remain our fingers crossed, of course, right, on seeing how we can be able to curb this. But in the meantime, it's a very slippery slope for tour operators across the region. Because I've told you, well, it will hit massively um, for countries, including Uganda, that has been put on the list, DRC, you see, Kenya, Tanzania, of course, Rwanda being close to DRC, but the entire region will definitely catch the cold. You see, majority tourists do 12 days in East Africa, 15 days, 18 days, but most of the clients that we handle in Uganda, probably they arrive via Nairobi after they are. So in other words, they have a longer itinerary, you see. But we urge relevant bodies concerned to ensure safety and transparency in information sharing, so that we give confidence to our travelers and to the tour consultants or tour managers. It is your job to ensure that clients have received facts on the ground, you see, on how we can be able to. But we hope things get better very soon. June, July, August, we're all desperate for and excited to have these busy months. But as you can all see, the curve is actually dropping down, right? But we'll keep you guided on how to walk over such situations at any time. And yeah, we've come up to share this with you as tourism business entrepreneur. But if you feel something that we left out, I've seen some blind PR, online, people are talking about how we are experts in treating Ebola. We are used to Ebola. I think, to me, that was not right. You see, to our market customers, they know how deadly the disease is, you see. And I think sometimes silence can win, after all, you know, that we've showed, you know, so much about the situation, and if we can keep it calm, yeah, we are countering the accusations, and these foreign governments are doing, whatever it takes to stop clients from traveling to these regions. And we've given you those ideas that have probably not ideas, but the restrictions that so far. And for you to come from Uganda and then go back home and you're kept somewhere for 21 days, it's a no business to a client, right? So I think a lot has to be, given in. But as two operators on ground, let's increase flexibility. Let's minimize financial loss. Where things are inevitable and the client is canceling, have it on case by case and see what your refund desks can probably be able to. Because we are all calling for transparency, and see how we can keep business flowing. Otherwise, do not forget to share this to other people. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Of course, follow us on our social handles. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, and we're on Facebook. Otherwise, I want to wish you well as we all prepare for the busy season. Of course, business will come in, right? Will come in. But the other thing that we can think of now is to diversify. Start selling other regions. You know, let's learn to sell other regions or other destinations. So as you can see, right now the snake is in a pot. So you either wait for a snake to go out and you don't know when, and if you break the pot, you will not cook. Cool. Otherwise, I can't wait to see you in our next video, and have a good day. Bye-bye.